Hi guys, I'm Charlie Book Fanatic, and today I'm going to talk about my book wishlist. I have two books on this list that are by Jandy Nelson, who has two books out now. She is quite a new author, but not really, because her first book was Skies Everywhere, and that one came out in 2010, and then after that her second book came out, which was I'll Give You the Sun. But she hasn't brought anything out since then, but I've read those two books and I loved both of them, and I really want to add both of these books to my collection. They also have really pretty editions of both of these books. The Skies Everywhere is about Lenny, who loses her older sister Bailey, and Bailey had a boyfriend, and there's also a new guy at school, and it's kind of a love triangle, but not really, because you know who Lenny is going to go for. But I realise that it may sound twisted, but it's actually a really lovely story. It's handled so well by Jandy Nelson, and it's definitely an amazing debut book. Give You the Sun is about twins called Jude and Noah. Jude is a girl and Noah is the boy. Written from both of their perspectives. Jude's perspective is written when they are 16 years old, and Noah's perspective is when they are both 13 years old. And it's basically about their relationship as twins, but also their family dynamics and the dynamics with people around them in general. There's not really a huge plot in this. It's kind of a mystery, but it's not really a mystery because it was kind of obvious to me. But again, this book was extremely lovely and I adored it. Like, I cannot speak about how much I love this book. Jandy Nelson is an amazing writer, and if you haven't given Jandy Nelson a chance yet, I recommend both of her books. The next book I want to add to my collection is the first book in a series that you hear me talking about constantly. I think I talked about this in my last weekly reading vlog as well, but about the fourth book. And I want to add The Boys of Summer, which is the first book in the Summer series by Duggan, to my collection. I don't have it as a physical copy, I have it as an ebook, like the whole series. I think there's a physical copy of the first book, but I think it's really hard to get, so I don't know yet. But I eventually want to add the whole series to my collection because I love it so much, and I definitely want to revisit these places like Onslow, the village, the town where the whole story takes place in, and all of these characters eventually. I won't bore you with a summary, but I'm going to say it's about a group of teenagers that live in this town called Onslow, and it's about their relationships and their friendships and their dynamics together. A video is not complete with a Benjamin Alire Sáenz book, and the one I want to add to my collection is specifically Sammy and Juliana in Hollywood. I already have Aristotle and Dante's Go the Secrets of the Universe in my collection, but I really want another book, and I love Sammy and Juliana in Hollywood. It's the third book I read by Benjamin Alire Sáenz, and it's about a boy called Sammy, and Juliana is in the title of the book, but it's not really about Juliana at all. It kind of is, but she's not in the book for most of it. Like, she's only in the beginning parts, but Sammy always thinks about her and carries her with him, so it's kind of, and Juliana in that way. Also, Hollywood is not the Hollywood you might think about. It's a barrio in New Mexico. That means it's neighborhood kind of in New Mexico. That is called Hollywood, and not the Hollywood you might think about with the huge films and everything. It's basically Sammy and Juliana's love story, but it's mostly about Sammy's development as a person and him trying to find himself. Then a book I really want to add to my collection one day is Night Film by Marisha Pessl, and I read this one a while ago. Like, I think it was 2014, might have been 2015, but I think was 2014. Anyway, I really loved it. It's a thriller, and I think it's the only thriller I have ever loved. I'm going to say nothing really much happens in this book, but it's really about the atmosphere. It's a really thick book. It's 600 pages, but there are these documents throughout the book and pictures and files that tell the story along with the text, but it's mostly text though, but it has these documents in it to enrich the story. And it's about this journalist called Scott McGrath. He is the main character in this book, and he is trying to investigate the death of Ashley Cordova, who is the daughter of this famous horror filmmaker who hasn't appeared anywhere. Like, no one has seen him in forever, and it's said he is living on his estate where he doesn't leave. Also, all of the film sets are on his estate, I believe, and Scott is going on this mission to find out how Ashley was murdered, because he believes her death was not simply a suicide but a murder, and where Cordova is, and if he even is still alive, and if everything he does is kind of creepy. I think this is my favourite book on this entire list. Like, I love this book. I cannot describe to you how much I love this book. It's definitely my favorite book on this whole list, and I think it might be the next book I'll buy from this list. The next book is Belzhar by Meg Wolitzer, and I think this is the book I read most in the past. Like, I think I read this one in 2013, 2014 maybe. I think definitely. So a lot of people don't like this book, and I don't get why, but maybe because I'm older, I need to reread it and I won't like it either, but I really loved it the first time I read it. It's about this girl who goes to this therapeutic boarding school because she has to deal with the death of her boyfriend, Reeve. Jem, who is the main character, gets led into Belzhar, which is kind of a fantasy world, and Jem is not sure if it is a fantasy world or if it is real. But in this world, she can see her dead boyfriend and talk to him, although they can't make new memories together. He only knows the things of the past that he has experienced with her, obviously, and that is something that Jem has to deal with. Like, how does she want to continue on with this, even though it's not good for her? In the beginning, it's all well and good, but after a while, you realize you can't make new memories with him. This is worth it to relive the past over and over and over again. I also really want the Superlatives trilogy by Jennifer Echols. I read the last book in this series, I think, last year. This trilogy is set in high school, and it's also about a friend group who pair off together, and I really adored the first book, which is Biggest Flirts. It's based on these Superlatives titles. Like, the first book is about Will and Tia, and Will is this new guy in school, and Will and Tia get paired off into Biggest Flirts as a superlative, and then they try and figure their relationship out throughout the book, and it's just a high school story, and I thought it was really good. I haven't read anything like this before, a book based on superlatives or about superlatives in general, and I really like that idea. And I also love the main character Tia. That may have contributed to my liking of the story as well, because Tia was so fierce and passionate, and she really had a temper. The second Benjamin Alire Sáenz book on this list, and this was the second book I read by this author, and it's Last Night I Sang to the Monster, and I absolutely adore this title. Last Night I Sang to the Monster is about a guy called Zach who goes to rehab, and he has amnesia. He can't remember anything. He can't even remember how he got into rehab, and I quoted this passage that is in the summary on Goodreads before in one of my videos, but I feel like I need to do it again because the summary describes so well Benjamin Alire Sáenz's writing style and also this book, and just, I don't know, if you don't like this passage, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with you. I have it in my head that when we're born, God writes things down on our hearts. See, on some people's hearts he writes happy, and on some people's hearts he writes sad, and on some people's hearts he writes crazy. On some people's hearts he writes genius, and on some people's hearts he writes angry, and on some people's hearts he writes winner, and on some people's hearts he writes loser. It's all like a game to him. Him. God. And it's all pretty much random. He takes out his pen and starts writing on our blank hearts. When it came to my turn, he wrote sad. I don't like God very much. Apparently, he doesn't like me very much either. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book I read a while ago. Also 2014, that time period, and it's Stolen, A Letter to My Captor by Lucy Christopher. This book broke me. Like, I still remember it to this day. I still think about it to this day, and it still crushes my heart whenever I think about what happened in this book. This book is about a girl called Gemma who gets kidnapped from an airport by a guy called Ty, who is a little bit older than her, and he takes her to the Australian outback, and there she has to live with him on his little farm. But the thing about this book is, you're going to like Ty. Ty is not a bad person. He just has these screwed up thoughts. He just thinks he could be happy with Gemma, and Gemma will be happy to stay with him, and she will care for him, and they were meant to be together. And Ty is such a sympathetic guy that you forget that he kidnapped her and that she didn't even want to be there in the first place, because eventually she stops trying to escape because she begins to like being with him and she falls in love with him. And I didn't know this about this book beforehand, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I felt like I was experiencing Stockholm Syndrome, and I didn't know that was what was going on in this book until the end of it. Like, my heart was crushed because of the events that happened at the end of this book, and I was like, what is this? Why do I feel this way? And I actually went and Googled it, and I found out that it was Stockholm Syndrome, and I was like, Lucy Christopher just made me experience Stockholm Syndrome. This is what it feels like. It's also written in the second person perspective, like it's written to you. Gemma is writing a letter to Ty, so she's talking to him with the use, and I think that was such a unique take on this story and trying to write it, and that it added to the story for me. Like, it made it so much more real. So these are the books on my book wish list. Which books are on your wish list? Which books are you going to buy next? Let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye!